Greetings and salutations, my Ginger League. It is I, Andrew Durning, with my co-host, Kevin. Kev, how you getting on, man?
Not bad, not bad. Enjoying the heat and a wee bit.
I'm not enjoying the heat at all,
Well,
especially when the kids decide they wanted chicken dippers for their dinner.
And you need to go out and get them.
No, it's more that you had to go in. Well, obviously cook them in the oven. Well, so reaching my hand in there, it was like I was giving Satan a prostate exam. Oh man, it was horrible.
Next best thing. It's the next best thing.
Yeah, but you may notice, my friends, that we have a couple of changes. First of all, like we've got this nice graphic. You can't see my finger, but I am pointing to the graphics either side. But yeah, so I especially want to thank Gordon Tomey for reaching out to us with the design and to see what we thought. And I just looked at it and I was like, sold. Done. I was like, so Gordon, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. What do you think, Kev? I think it gives us that little bit of the professional edge that we're looking for.
A bit more professional.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I was just the fact someone thinks that we've achieved that level of status that they can reach out and give us stuff. It's great.
That's it. It shows that we're doing something people like.
We are indeed, because everybody has been liking and subscribing. Thank you very much. We have been on a roll since we've hit the monetization. At the time of this recording, we are at 10 pence. We are on the way to get that Fredo.
We'll get that Fredo sometime.
Yep, and when we get that Fredo, we will do a post about that Fredo. That'll be the greatest day of my life. What about when your kids were born? Not even close.
No, we got the Fredo.
We definitely got the Fredo, and we're going to get the Fredo. We're going well, my friend. So we're going to try something a little bit different now that the preliminary Super Fights tournament has wrapped up, and we'll be sharing kind of more details on that stuff in the coming weeks. We thought we'd try a weekly format show where we look at all the current topics and superhero-dom, and we just discuss it and see what we think. Because boost the analytics to get us a wee bit more cash, and get a bit more eyeballs on us, because we are flying. We are flying like Homelander.
Yep.
Hey. So that will actually bring me to what I'm going to class as the first question of this new show, which I've titled Super Geeked. And if I can find any graphic stuff, I will put it in. So everybody's been hyped up about The Boys. It's recently wrapped series 3. It was very much a critically acclaimed success. And so I wanted to put the question to my good friend Kev of which actor from The Boys would you like to see appear in either the DCEU or the MCU? Now, we know that some of them already have, for example, Karl Urban. He was Scourge in Thor Ragnarok.
That's right.
Unceremoniously killed off. Too good an actor to be let go.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him in his Scourge, I was like, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill him. He's going to redeem himself and then he'll die.
We seem to do that lately. Let's see with the really good villains that they've had, and they just kill them. Like Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. You're like, there's no way they're gonna. Yep, he's dead. And then Hela is like the goddess of death. She can't. Oh wait, damn. Ragnarok. And just seems to be going like that. And you're like, how many times does Tom Hiddleston have to come back to life? Is he like the kind of? Is he like the Keith Chegg? The Heath Ledger? The guy from the Rolling Stones, the one that's just always outliving anybody.
Oh, Keith Richards.
Well, I kept going because Keith Cheggers is slanging terms for getting somebody pregnant. That was just stuck in my head there. But yeah, so it's like, so Tom Hiddleston is basically like the Keith Richards of the MCU. You just keep absorbing everybody else's power. No matter who dies.
I know. Although the Loki series was really good. I did like that.
Yeah,
it was good how they done it.
Yeah, that will tie into in our question later on. But I will ask you, who do you want to see in either the MCU or the DCEU? There has been rumors of the guy who plays Homelander meant to be coming on as Dracula in the MCU. First of all, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm hoping it is. I do really like Anthony Starr. I've been watching him since Xena.
Yeah,
because he was in Xena.
He was indeed.
And
Wasn't one of them in Hercules as well?
He was in Hercules as well. So was Carl Urban. That's actually when they first
Yes.
met.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been battling since then. But
I wonder, was Held Homelander in the Lord of the Rings franchise? Because he could have been battling in that, because Carl Urban was in it.
Carl Urban was in it. I don't think Anthony Starr was. I mean, he is a New Zealander, and it was full of New Zealanders and Australians.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he was in it.
Yeah,
I'd need to look it up.
Since I am wearing my Star Trek T-shirt today, I have to recognize that Carl Urban was obviously Bones
Obviously.
in the new timeline. Very good, inspired piece of casting. He's also was so underrated as Dredd. That definitely deserved a lot more love than it got. The fact that Sylvester Stallone out box office, that's just not right.
It's not. I mean, the Sylvester Stallone one, it was a hilarious piece of cheese.
Yeah, it's a so bad it's good kind of one.
I will go out my way to watch that film because it is so bad that it's good, and it's got the star power. It's Sylvester Stallone, so it's like people are going to watch it anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't Rob Schneider in it as well?
Rob Schneider was in it as well, aye.
Yeah.
But then you get Carl Urban coming in and playing it completely seriously.
Mm-hmm.
The way it was supposed to be, the way the comics is.
Yep,
he does not take off his mask.
Exactly. Doesn't take off the mask. And you had Lena Headey, Cersei Lannister at the height of her bitchness. Not against Lena Headey because she's an absolutely amazing actress. And I'm sure she's a lovely person because people who are playing those type of badass characters are normally the nicest people you could ever meet in real life.
Aye.
So aside from that, sorry, on you go, my friend.
I was just going to say then at the other end of the scale, you get people like George Peppard, who plays a good guy and was actually just a complete cunt.
Definitely, man. Definitely. There's loads of people like that, and you're just like, ugh, honestly.
I know.
So anyway, you're more acquainted with the boys than I am. I don't have any access to it, because I can't afford to get Amazon Prime yet. Give us some of that sponsor money so I can actually watch this show. That's what the crowdfunding was for, man. My subscriptions. I joke for anybody that has donated at the time of this recording. Thank you so much for doing that. It's going to help us massively. So who would you like to see since you have watched more of the boys than I have?
Well, I would actually quite like to see Jack Quaid coming in as somebody.
So for anybody that hasn't watched it, who does he play in the boys?
He plays Huey.
Yeah.
Huey Campbell.
So tell why I have seen the first episode of the boys, and it was mainly because I was over at one of my work colleagues' houses, and he just put it on, and I was like, So I've seen the first episode because Simon Pegg played his dad, didn't he? And he has really weird a really weird American accent.
He did, because in the comics, Huey was based on Simon Pegg.
Wow.
Ginger, goatee, bit like yourself. No glasses though.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Glasses off. There we are. There we go. It's so weird seeing me with glasses on because I always have my glasses on when I'm doing these now. It's so weird.
And so they based the look on him, and then when it came to filming, they're like, "Who can we get?" And they're like, "Well, we need to change things. We need to have him as American. We can't have him as a Scot because originally he's a Scot. He's called Wee Huey."
Oh man,
I know.
Huey. That just takes you back to like the Tally's Blood days, doesn't it?
It does. But the best thing is, they brought in Jack Quaid, who's like 6 foot, who is like he's like an inch taller than Carl Urban. So they can't call him Wee, but a lot of the time, Carl Urban calls him Wee because he's read the comics and he calls him Wee Huey. And one of them is Huey's like, "I'm taller than you."
Well, it's Wee in a case of that he's smaller than him in the type of work that he does.
Aye,
over with that.
Yep.
So who would you want to see him play? Like, would you? So first of all, MCU or DCEU?
I would quite like to see him play Atom in DC.
Nice. I think that would be quite an interesting one. So
because I know we've had Brendan Roth playing the Atom
he
in
was
the Arrowverse, and
he's absolutely amazing.
He took that role and he made it his own, because like how are they going to do this? The character is a bit of a dick, and then when he came in, he played him as a bit of a dick, but then it's like he's like, no, I don't want to play it like that, and then he completely changed the character. And
they gave him a reason for why he was a dick, and then all that kind of stuff as well. But
I'd quite like
true.
to see.
Would you like to see if there was a way to get another kind of super shot at, say, Superman Returns, that universe, or Brandon Routh's Kingdom Come Superman? Would you like to see him as Atom in that universe? And that could be another wee kind of mind F.
That would be good. That would be good. I mean, seeing Brendan Roth play Superman again, that would be great. I mean, in Crisis, he's he managed to come in and say, look, I didn't get the right hit as Superman because all the critics panned it, so I'm coming back to prove that they were wrong. And he did.
That was the thing. Like, the movie was panned, but his performance wasn't. They basically said he was the right Superman and in the wrong movie. And then when you look back at it, and obviously a certain Mr. Spacey was Lex Luthor, that just makes it even worse. Kind of be like, you're like, oh man. But so it was good to see him get that wee bit of a redemption. He was redeeming characters before Andrew Garfield made it cool.
Yep,
definitely. So that's quite an interesting choice for it. Because I'm thinking about it as well. I mean, because I know the creator of the show. I don't personally know them, but I know him, Eric Kripke, for Supernatural, and I watched Supernatural. I've watched all 15 seasons. I fucking loved it. I was always like,
that's still something I've never watched. I've never watched it.
Wow. It was originally meant to end after the 5th series, and then it lasted for another 10 on top of that. Don't get wrong, of questionable quality sometimes, but overall, you keep coming back for the characters, and it would be nothing if they weren't played by, Jared Padalecki, who played Sam, and Jensen Ackles, who plays Dean, and who now plays Soldier Boy. And The Boys, and he's the one that I would pick for it, because I know that he's done the voiceovers. He's done Red Hood, and he's done and for Under the Red Hood, and he's played Batman in A Long Halloween as well. Both roles he was brilliant in.
That Long Halloween was really good.
What he done, and you could just tell that he really wanted to get that role, and there's always been some wee kind of sly and Batman that was reference that was in Supernatural as well. He always had something like that about him as well. We're just trying to get that way, and so I think in a live action universe, I would like to see him as Batman. I think maybe now he's maybe a bit too old to play Red Hood.
I think so. He's in his 40s now.
Yeah, in the type of universe that they've got now, especially with it being Twilight that's playing Batman. He'd be too old for that. So I could see him as maybe being like an older Batman, maybe one who's just coming like the tail end of Burnout before it would go to Dark Knight Returns territory. I think that would be a really good one, and I think personally for the actor as well, he's always wanted to play Batman. He loves that type of world. Maybe because he's been touted for years, rumored for years to be in the Arrowverse's Batman.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it was years and years, and it never materialized, and I don't think it's going to happen because sadly I think the Arrowverse is on its last legs. But because they've separated the Superman and Lois, they've taken that out of that Arrowverse, multiverse thing. Yeah. So they've established that it's its own reality. So why not bring Jensen Ackles in as that reality Batman? Make it a really grounded, gritty show like Arrow was in the first couple of series, and establish it and have them have it kind of a flirt in that there could be them having a crossover event, but not happening yet, and see how you go with it. Well, I personally think that would be quite a good angle for Mr. Ackles to go down.
Yeah, I could see him playing Batman. I definitely could.
Definitely. And it was the same like when the guy plays Sam in Supernatural, like Jared Padalecki. Like he's a taller one with the longer hair. But he always got touted for years to play Nightwing. And when he was that age, and I thought that would have been a good casting choice. You could have seen him play that character, but again now,
aye.
And I'd be like, man, there's so many potentially great casting choices that have slipped through your fingers. But he could potentially come on The Voice as Eric Kripke. Well, it was the runner of both shows. He's already kind of reached out to see if he can get more of his Supernatural alums back. He already had the guy who's Bobby Singer. Well, played the candidate. Like he was in Supernatural as Bobby Singer. Well, that was his name. So there's already been a couple of subtle wee plugs to his previous style. You know that way the second I found out it was the same guy that done Supernatural, I was like, I can see it. In the way that he films it, it's a very Kripke style of filmography. And I was like, man, how did I not twig to this sooner? Yeah. So that way, if there's anything that's in good hands with the boys, it's definitely with Eric Kripke.
Aye.
I think
it's been going good. Series 3, I think, has been one of the best so far. There's so many things they've took from the comics and put in.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that they've done differently, but it's worked. Because I know a lot of the time they bring in things from comics and it doesn't work. And then there's some times where they just go off on a tangent and it works better for them, like with the Flash. A lot of the things that they brought in from the comic didn't really work.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that they've done where it's characters from the comics, but they've took them a completely different way and it's worked so much better for the TV show.
Definitely, man. And that's the way that it should go. Like there should be a little bit of a artistic liberty to try different things. And if it doesn't work, then they always use their timey-wimey multiverse stuff to try and fix it. But then again, as I've said in the previous video, I'm not a big fan of multiverse stuff. If you want to check that out, feel free to go through some of the previous videos. So that's the first topic covered, I would say, and some good choices all round of who we think could fit into the. And it's surprising we both picked DC, even though the one that's being touted is rumored for Marvel.
I know.
I personally though would not like him to play Dracula because we've had Jared Leto playing Morbius and that's bombed badly. Vampires might not work in this MCU. And
it might not, but they're going darker. They are going down the darker route the way Blade is. So it could work.
Yeah, it would depend how they would go about it. Mahershala Ali is a brilliant casting choice. I wish them nothing but success with it. But if they keep it at a PG-13, I do not know how they're going to do it unless they try and Sam Raimi it a bit. But at the same time, I don't know how that would go. I think they would either need to go all in or just don't do it at all. And that's the only way that Dracula, I think, would be able to go in the MCU.
It's not going to work any other way.
Yeah, any vampire that's not Jared Leto's Morbius, I'm okay with that. In fact, and it's not Jared Leto, I'm all right with that. Go back to 30 Seconds to Mars.
Again, haven't seen Morbius yet.
Yeah, good. That actually brings me to the next topic of discussion, because Thor: Love and Thunder has been out for at the time of this recording about 2 weeks now, and it's not had the best of reviews. Critics have been mixed on it, fans have been mixed on it as well, mainly because they think they went a bit OTT with the humor. So that actually led me to quite an interesting question that I'd seen. Should we get Chris Hemsworth's Thor back to being a bit more serious? Now, we had this with The Dark World, which not the strongest film. We'll admit. Ragnarok, while being a breath of fresh air, something that I thought was a problem was there was too many jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, too many jokes straight after a serious moment. I felt personally they could have let like a moment kind of settle and let it breathe before they brought in a joke, like maybe a good few seconds longer, maybe even a minute. It was like when Ragnarok happened, and Korg's doing the whole thing, like, you know, we could make a new Asgard, and it would be better. But the remains are still kaboom. Oh no, they're all gone. And I'm like, I did not. You didn't need to have that joke there, that throwaway joke at all. And they've doubled and tripled down on the jokes from what has been, you know, said and what has been kind of announced about it. And the fact they didn't have a pinned idea of what they wanted to do. They had like 2 or 3 separate kind of ideas in the one film. It seemed very messy. It seemed very choppy. Again, could have had a lot less screaming goats. That is so 2013. And how do I know it was 2013? That was the first time I ever saw one of those goats that scream like humans videos. It was to Taylor Swift's Trouble. And every time now I hear that song on the radio, it's like I just want to scream like the goat.
Yep.
So what do you think about it? Do you think we need to go back to a more serious tone? Do we stick with what we've got? Is there a blend that we can use?
I think it should be a blend. I think Ragnarok brought new life into Thor. Because the Dark World almost killed Thor. Yep. There wasn't going to be a third film for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they got the script for it, and then they got Taika Waititi to come in and direct it. And they're like, right, this could work. This looks like it might work. And it did. And then I think they're trying to up it again and keep it on that level, or even drop it a bit, because the humor works with Chris Hemsworth's Thor. It works with him.
Yeah.
With the seriousness of the Dark World, it didn't really work that well.
Yeah,
I mean, overall as a film, I did like the Dark World. It's not like the best film in the MCU, but it's good to continue the story. Yeah. It continues the story, but it was too out of place at that time.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I think the bit that they need to kind of strive for is Thor: Infinity War and Endgame style Thor, because he had the seriousness where he needed to have it, and they had some moments of humor in there as well. And don't get me wrong, like the kind of like in Endgame, the humor was made like covering a PTSD, which is something that you could understand for Thor at this point, because you know he's seen his brother die multitude of times now, at least 3. His mom's dead, his dad's dead. He lost his hammer. He's now lost for spoiler alerts, like he's now lost a certain love of his life. And there was all that kind of stuff around it. He lost Heimdall as well. And he felt personally responsible for the snap. To the point where he committed one of the kind of, I would say, one of the most gruesome deaths in the MCU so far. Up to that point, when he just straight up lopped his head off.
Yep.
So there's a reason for him to have a PTSD style humor. I get it. I totally understand. And I think that's kind of where it needs to be, where he's more, you know, diffusing the tense situations with humor, but when he has to go serious, he does go serious.
Yeah,
like when they went to New Asgard to get him, and he's in, like, you know, proper dad bod mode, playing Fortnite with Korg, and then they say, and then Hulk mentions Thanos' name, and he's just like, don't, just don't, and it just turns on a dime. That shows you the range that he's got.
Yeah.
Personally don't think he should have been like, straight to more jokey. Like in Thunder. I think he should have had more of that end game kind of style about him. Where he was just more kind of trying to figuring himself out and find himself, fair enough, but don't be like, Thor Jesus.
Yeah.
That was just the way it was kind of going. He's like, here are the Guardians and my midlife crisis road trip kind of thing, and then I'm going away, and then my ex comes back, but the ex isn't actually, Natalie Portman, it's Mjolnir. Right, and you've got, and the love triangle is between two axes. Well, an axe and a hammer. Well, it was just like, just so much of it just, it was just misplaced humor, and they just couldn't settle on a game plan and run with it. And the press kind of things that the media junkies have been doing, they've been very close to the bone.
Yeah.
Like, not close to the bone as in like they've been risque, but they've been close to the bone as in, like, Kevin Feige liked to keep everything under lock and key. Like, he said, like, he's had so much trouble trying to like rein in Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland over the years. I
mean, that's a full-time job in itself. Exactly. Never mind trying to run the entire MCU. He has to ruin their lives by saying, "Don't say anything. Just don't." Just that's why they're never in interviews themselves.
Yeah, but at that point, like, he's finally got rid of Tom Holland at the moment. At the moment, for the way it's going, we never know what's going to happen down the line. Matt Ruffalo's still there, but he's not being used as much. Again, it's fair kept under control. So you could afford to tighten the leash again and be like, right, we've got rid of the two biggest blabbermouths. You guys know what you're doing. Fair enough. But they've all just been like, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing in that scene. Now you can see that that's no what right. And you're like, what?
I know.
And you're hearing about, like, Lena Headey was meant to have a role in it. It was cut. Jeff Goldblum was meant to be in it. Cut. You don't cut Jeff Goldblum.
No.
No matter what you do, you do not cut Jeff Goldblum.
Even if he comes in for one line.
Yeah.
That's it. He's in.
If he just, like, totally breaks the fourth wall and just turns up and just says, I am Jeff Goldblum, and walks out again, you keep it in.
It in, aye.
What? Because he wouldn't have been cheap to get. Not at all.
No.
And they cut him. For what? More goat noises? Less goat noises. Probably. And more Goldblum. That's the biggest takeaway. Less goat and more Goldblum. I would say that's the biggest takeaway. And Christian Bale even saying that, he didn't feel like he knew what he was doing when he was on it. Well, because and he's right, it just felt so out of place. Like, they either had to like, make it just the total. I call it the YTT now, where he just takes like a subject's meant to be serious and just totally destroys it. Like what he's done with what we do in the shadows has been brilliant. But he just basically went, vampires are just rubbish, and I'm going to show you how rubbish it is. He done that, man. He done it with Hitler. He's like, I'll play a fictionalized version of Hitler in a little boy's head and just show how rubbish he is. Like, that just seems to be his general take on things. He'll go, right, you all suck, and I'm going to make sure that everybody now knows you suck. He does it very well.
He does.
And he's got and he does have a great style to him. But at certain points, I think you have to tell the YTT just to be like, okay, pick a lane and go with it.
Aye.
It's just, I would say that we do need to get a bit of the seriousness of Thor back, but not to the extent of the Dark World.
Yeah, aye. There is a happy medium there somewhere.
Yeah, they've just got to. They've had 2 and 2. They've had 2 that have been really serious. They've had 2 that have been really kind of campy and a little bit over the top. But the Russo has proved that you can balance it with Infinity War and with Endgame, especially in Infinity War when he's calling Rocket Rabbit. And things like it's like in serious scenes, he's still like, he speaks Y as Rabbit. So there's a little bit. So there's still enough of it to do it. And you can do it with certain things. For example, James Gunn. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 had a lot more jokes, but also I was bawling like a baby.
Totally.
At a specific bit. And you know which bit I'm talking about.
Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah. May have been your father, but wasn't your daddy.
Exactly.
And that entire, Ravager funeral, I was like, I'm greeting, especially as they were playing father and son. What a song to play. He knows what he's doing to hit the emotional roller coaster bits. He really does. That actually brings us on to our next question. As of the time of this recording, DCEU has produced more quality content, according to some fans, than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, they've not. Well, Marvel has the lead in terms of quantity. DC seem to have the lead in quality. So that got me thinking, true or false? DC has produced better quality content than Marvel in 2022 thus far.
Probably they have. I believe that Marvel is trying to flood with as much as they can, especially with their TV series. One finishes a couple of weeks later, the next one's coming out. I mean, Miss Marvel's just finished last week or 2 weeks ago, and She-Hulk's coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, roughly. One thing that I really thought was a bit off with their marketing was, why did they put Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan Kenobi on the same day and at the same time?
Aye.
Well, everybody knows who they're going to go to.
Yeah.
If you're trying to push a diversity angle, you're shooting yourselves in the foot big style, because they'll be like, oh, the old white guy has got more views.
I know.
Thanks for that one.
And the thing is, I know a lot of people have been panning Miss Marvel. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, well,
I've not seen the last couple of episodes, but what I've seen so far has been really good.
Yeah, I think they've succeeded more. Ironically, they've succeeded more on the cultural and diversity aspect of it than they have on the superhero side of it.
I know they've changed. Spoilers if nobody's seen it. They've changed her origin.
Yeah, she's not
an Inhuman.
She's a mutant.
And I've not seen the last episode, but I've heard that you hear the X-Men theme song. Well, I'm sold. I'm sold.
Yeah, I've seen the ones, and it's a picture of Patrick Stewart. And then it's Kamala Khan being like, "Look at me, I'm the first mutant of the MCU now." That kind of thing. The same thing that they done when they incorporated Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in No Way Home, and they went, "Aye, it's like he's the first MCU film now," and we're all like, "Shit, we've actually got to go and buy Spider-Man."
Yep.
I already had it anyway, but still, we can understand that. It was weird how they succeeded so well in the cultural side of it, which they've not been known to have a good track record of in the past, has Disney, and
they
even
have not, no.
And even like the superhero genre as well. And they succeeded in that more than they actually succeeded with the superhero element of it.
Yeah, aye.
And a lot of people were a bit kind of thrown with the whole, like the whole expanding kind of fist thing, like punch. But that is true at the character in the comics. But again, as you said, when you're adapting to live action, sometimes you have to take a bit of liberties when it comes to it, because it did look quite tacky. And this is from a guy who has to watch Spidey and his amazing friends with his kids as he's Kamala Khan in it.
Oh God, I've seen terrible YouTube adverts for that, and it's like, oh my God.
In fairness, it's got a bitchin' song, intro song. It's got a bitchin' song. It gets you right in the mood for that, the type of show that it's going to be. But yeah,
it'll have nothing on the 90s Spider-Man tune, though.
Of course not. No, definitely not.
And again, the 90s Spider-Man song doesn't have anything on the X-Men theme song.
Again, very true. Very true. It's one of those ones because it's kind of like, you know what it reminds me of when I seen the enlarging fist, what phrasing, what of what the Kamala Khan. It reminded me of what in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness when you saw the yellow chair for Charles Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
For years, you always wanted to see that because of the 90s cartoon, and then when you finally seen it, you just thought, I actually could have went without seeing that.
Aye.
Well, which is
Could have just left it with the cartoon.
Yeah, which was gutting to actually admit to yourself. You're like, oh man, because we wanted this for so long, we got it, and now we're like, damn. So
I mean, we wanted Reed Richards in the MCU for so long, and then we got it, and it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
And I think it was the case of as well. Let's see if they're going to turn any Reed Richards into spaghetti. Make it the Chris Evans, what Fantastic Four, what Reed Richards guy. His name escapes me right now because it's always been about John Krasinski. But if they're going to have that, don't have it for a purpose. Bring that one back to destroy him and be like, right, we are wiping you guys out. Like that's why I was aside from
I would have done the Fan-Four-tastic.
I
would have brought that one and just erased that.
Yeah,
that's the multiverse that get blown up. That's the one that disappeared. Thank God.
But that's the one where I would want all of the Fan-Four-stick, and we couldn't get that because of Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't be able to get it, but you would want to just see them all just wiped. So for the compromise, I would have definitely took the Chris Evans, Jessica Alba, Michael Rooker. I feel so bad he's the only name that I can't remember for playing Mr. Fantastic, but that's the guy you'd be like, right, turn him into spaghetti. It's all cool. And then I
usually know his name as well.
I know. I've seen a lot of stuff that he's been in. He's a fantastic actor, and for the life of me,
really good.
And for the life of me, I just cannot remember it's nuts. And yeah, and it was the same kind of deal. Like that's why I was kind of okay with. I wasn't obviously okay with Scarlet Witch snapping Xavier's neck.
Aye,
but in a way, I was like, at least it wasn't James McAvoy, because that way we've still got that one because he's young. Because no disrespect to Patrick Stewart, but he is obviously younger than Sir Patrick. And it means there'll be more potential to keep him going, and also more potential to get Michael Fassbender in as Magneto as well. So if there was any type of ones, I was like, okay, that one was fine. You never like seeing Sir Patrick getting killed in anything, but it makes sense. And that's why I was like, why wasn't it the other guy? And keep John Krasinski, Fantastic Four, who was like Dream Boy casting for a more expanded role. You just ruined it. Were you Googling to find out that actor's name?
I'm trying to find his name. Aye.
Well, definitely. Well, because we need to try and find that. That'll give me a chance to kind of sound off about like the DC stuff. And
there we go. Ian Grufford.
Aha. There we go. Apologies to Mr. Ian. We are a fan of your other work. I was a fan of those 2000s Fantastic Fours because they had Velvet Revolver. I'm a big fan of Velvet Revolver back in the day. Still am. Still love the two albums. But yeah, and obviously Chris Evans as Johnny Storm was brilliant. For how he played him. But yeah, that one I would have been like, it'd be okay to just take a dump on it. It was like if they brought X-Men Origins Deadpool onto the Illuminati. But just to destroy him, we'd be like, okay,
that's fine. That's fine.
But we're okay. We're okay with that one. It's all good.
I'm sure Ryan Reynolds would have come on just to say, right, is that him dead then? He's never coming back.
Yeah,
he's dead forever in all universes.
Yeah. Oh, just him popping up going, I thought I killed you at the end of Deadpool 2. What? And then just being like, what? And he's just like, bye. Because he's still got the use of the turning back time from Deadpool 2. Just be like, as he's going through, it's like, what? I thought I killed you at the end of Deadpool 2. Where's Cable? What are you talking about? Bye. Just having something daft like that. But so it brings us to obviously the DC side of it. And at the time of this recording, we've had the Suicide Squad, the Batman, we've had Peacemaker. Believe that's all we've had so far in that type of DCEU universe.
I think so, yeah. Because
at the time of this recording, The Flash has been pushed back because of certain controversies. Black Adam isn't out yet. It's not out till October, I believe. So we still have a good gap there. But the three that have been released have all been very well received.
They have been.
Don't get me wrong, 2 of them have been from James Gunn, so you were on to winners there.
That's true, yeah.
Because the Suicide Squad was basically like, an R-rated Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
And then Peacemaker was just taking one of the standouts from it, which was surprisingly John Cena, and running with it, and just had the right blend. Again, something that Tycat should take note of, the right blend of the series and the humor. Right there.
Yep.
And the Batman, despite the reservations of Twilight, actually pulled it out of the bag. The casting was good. Like Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman was something not expected, but a delightful surprise. Still no patch on Michelle Pfeiffer, but a good surprise. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, I had no clue that was him under all that makeup.
I know. I watched the video of him getting all the makeup put on, and it's like, I still can't see that it's him. I've watched it, and it's nope.
You still don't believe
and then
it.
He puts the voice on, and it's like, that's no Colin. That's no Colin Farrell. It's not.
You just don't recognize it. You're like, no, no him, no him. And
Paul Dano's Riddler as well.
Definitely.
The way he played that was spectacular, and I loved the nod to Jim Carrey with the same glasses.
Definitely. It was just the fact he was playing it very Jigsaw-like as well. I think that for that type of setting, it should be that type of Riddler. Definitely. And the best part was that they were talking about how, Gotham essentially was more like a character in this, and they were talking about how it actually feels like it's a worn down city and it's a shithole. And we were like, that's Glasgow. That's our shithole. That's our shithole.
I loved watching it. It's like you see them drive like that. I've been there. Yeah, been there. Puked there.
Yep, you're like, yeah, let's not go to what I've done there. Yeah, it was definitely one, because they're all talking about how atmospheric and how run down and beat down it is, and I was like, you're just backing up all the points I made on Facebook years ago when it first got talked about. And I'm like, Glasgow's great because everybody's like, oh, Glasgow's great for being Gotham. I'm like, Gotham is a rat infested shithole that all of society wants to cut off. But yeah, say Glasgow's great.
Sounds like Hamilton, actually.
Sounds like Airdrie. In all honesty, because that got me thinking of, like, if they were going to do this, like the Scottish kind of DC verse, like what cities would be incorporated. So I think like Metropolis would be Edinburgh. I think maybe somewhere like Stirling would be Coast City, like somewhere for not Stirling, like, because it has to be near the sea for an Aquaman.
Dundee.
Aye, Dundee, like, or even up by Prestwick, that kind of way up there. Stirling, probably Stirling Central City. That's what I was thinking, because that's pretty central. In those terms. And then you just get Inverness to play it to be like, somewhere really shit, like somewhere like Greenland where Hal Jordan lives.
Aye,
somewhere like that. So I went through. I'm like, other ones could be used here. Let's figure this out. But yeah, so they've all been really strong candidates, and they've all done it. And the only one I would say has had more kind of critiques against it in DC has been Batman. Like more of the kind of fans been like, no, we weren't too fond of that. The critics have ate it up. But Peacemaker, because no one knows a lot about him, and he's also being played brilliantly by John Cena.
That opening credit scene, that alone.
That's basically like what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with David Hasselhoff.
Aye.
It was like their starter. That was like that was the starter kit for what Peacemaker's intro was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You see it and you're like, this shouldn't work, but it does.
But it does.
It so does. The fact you're rooting for a CGI eagle, but it's just like, Dad, get a picture. It's landed on me. Dad. Just takes you back to when you were a kid and you were doing something really, really stupid and you thought it was the best thing ever. And
trying to get a picture. And you turn around, there's nobody there because nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
That just go.
Yeah, and you're like, Dad, you missed it. So yeah, I get that now. I get that. But yeah, and I think maybe it's because there's been so much content being shoved at us from Marvel side that that's people what's been its downfall, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually brings us to the final question of our first episode of Super Geeked. Is there too much content in Phase 4? Because if we look at it, since Phase 4 came on the go, there's been 5 TV shows. I think there's been WandaVision. There's been 6. I think there's been WandaVision. There's been What If. There has been Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There has been Loki. There has been Hawkeye. There has been Miss Marvel.
And now She-Hulk as well, because that's in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so that'll
be
She-Hulk.
So that'll be 7 TV series. And count how many that they had in the combined run of the MCU that they don't even really acknowledge anymore. You had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Inhumans, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher.
Yep.
7. We had and I'm not counting like Marvel's Runaways and all that stuff because they were still Fox at the time. So there wasn't a possibility of them tying in. So in the space of one phase, they've had the exact same amount as phases 1 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy to think about.
It is. When
it comes to that. And then in terms of their movies, they've had obviously the pandemic has pushed a lot back, but they were still going to be classed as Phase 4 anyway. So you have Black Widow, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
Eternals as well.
Yeah. Aye.
So that's 5, I think. So we've had.
Aye.
I'm pretty sure that's right. If not, someone can correct me, but there you go. So 12 pieces of media content from one phase. I don't think there was even that much in Phase 3, and I thought that was a lot.
I think there was like 9 in Phase 3.
Like 9 movies or something. But that was spaced out like over a course of
like 4 or 5
years or something. I think I think it was like 2014 to 2019, something like that.
I think it was. I
think it was roughly about that. Whereas they've had more content shoved down our throats in 2 years than any phase.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at obviously, like we said, we've discussed like the content of DCEU. Like they've had a total of 2 films. In this year. The other ones they've had, Aquaman, Wonder Woman 84. They've had we forgot about the Snyder Cut as well. The Snyder Cut was in there.
I
think that was 2021 though, wasn't it?
Aye, it was.
I mean, it's not, even if we counted the Snyder Cut as well, that's still a lot less than we've been hit with in 2 years of Marvel, or even just 1 year of Marvel, even in 2022. We have been hit with quite a lot. And I know that they could say it's backlog and stuff, but it was going to be over the 2 years anyway.
Aye.
It would have been a little bit of a shuffle of order, and something a bit different, but there was a lot of stuff put in there. So, do you think that it's too much content for your average kind of moviegoer or TV watcher to keep up with? I personally think so.
I think there's been a bit too much in such a short amount of time. Because what they were doing before, they had like all their TV shows, they were doing like 2-3 films a year.
Yeah.
Pushing it. 3 films a year. And that's if like, one of the Avengers films, so it'd be like an Iron Man, an Avengers, and then a Thor. That would be it.
Yeah.
And then the next year it'd be the same. And that was fine. If they'd kept that with like 1 or 2 series in between them, so like that would be like 5 pieces of content per year.
Yeah.
That would be a lot easier to take in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you think about, like, when I look back in like my abridged version, like phase 1, you had Iron Man, you had Hulk, you had Thor, you had Captain America, you had Iron Man 2, what, also not in that order, but I'm just remembering, and you had Avengers. So you had 6. You had 6 films, and that was spaced out from 2008 to like, I don't know, say like 2010, 2011, something like that.
I think the Avengers was 2012. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah, 2012. So it was spaced out over 4 years. And then when you got to phase 2, like there was a little bit more content. In the terms of there was a bit more, like, so you had Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Captain America 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, and
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange was phase 3. I only know that because I've just done my phase 3 abridged.
All right.
As well. So yeah, there was about maybe six or 7, because I think there was something else in there. Just my brain's kind of farting at this point. And during that run, you had in TV content wise, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I think had a season of Inhumans. That was it.
Yeah.
And then also the ton of films that came in phase 3, and you had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the Netflix shows as previously discussed. So it just seems like it's been going more and more and more. It's kind of like when you get like when you start realizing you're like, how the heck did I get like overweight? And then you look back and go, well, I've been slowly gorging up to this point, and now I'm the size of a house. Well, it's kind of what's happening with the Marvel expanded universe. It's the Marvel expanded waistline. I know, and there's still more to come. There's so much that's been and that's not counting some of the ones that had been shelved, some projects that were shelved.
Yeah,
like because there was meant to be an Inhumans movie, as well, to kind of redeem the series. That didn't happen.
Nope.
And obviously they were changing plans around when they got Spider-Man into the mix, and other ideas that they had, they were pulling out as well. So there's still so much to come. I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing the Young Avengers at some point because of the way they're building it up.
They're building it up, aye.
Yeah, you've got the Marvels that's meant to be coming out as well. That'll be introducing Ironheart from what the internet chatter is saying, and it's just. I've personally really kind of struggled to keep up with it all. And also tie it all in to what grand picture that they've got.
There doesn't seem to be any interconnection right now.
Yeah, because it was like at first you thought Scarlet Witch had tapped into the multiverse, and you're like, is her event going to be the thing that snaps it? And then you get Loki's thing with Kang, and you're like, that's the thing that snapped it. Then you've got Spider-Man No Way Home. All right, that's the thing that snapped it. And then you've got Doctor Strange. Didn't she snap it previously? Oh, she's snapping it again with him and this America Chavez. Oh, that's snapping it. And now you're like,
I've not got a clue.
Yeah, pretty much. It's why I said in my video, multiverse arcs confused the fuck out of me. Because it's so hard to keep up. And that's if you've got your finger on the pulse of it and know what you're doing from the get-go.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe in years down the line, will be proved wrong, and Feige will be got you suckers. And it's all worked out, and we could be like, hey. And just right now, it's just so much, and it's so convoluted. Like we talked about phase 1, that really was a simpler time.
It was
so much simpler. You had just had the movies to build up the main ones, and then we had the big crossover event, which at the time we thought couldn't be done, and they did it, and we're like, okay, and then they're like, okay, let's see how far we can go here. And I think I think they've not pushed the envelope. I think they've set it on fire now.
Aye.
So yeah, for anybody that is watching, if you don't agree with our comments, please let us know. But we stand by our opinions, and I'm just going by what the evidence tells me. Like I am gorged on superhero stuff. Great time for content creating. Bad time if you're just trying to be a casual fan with looking after your family. So yeah, that's our first episode of Super Geeked. How have you found it, my friend?
Good. It's good to just have a wee chat about these things.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much stuff that gets dropped, like not only just weekly, but on the daily with it, and you're like, okay, they're talking about this, now they're talking about this, now they're talking about this. And it's like, and that's what I always used to like about watching like some of the content where they would just kind of dive in and talk about it a bit and try and piece together what they think. But obviously I don't know like the full extent of oh, they could be building to this thing because in the comics they've done this. Like, I don't have a clue. I'm fighting for I know a bit more than the casuals, but I'm not as diehard as the hardcore ones. So I'm like the casuals conduit. Well, I'll help them through. So that's why I was like, right, it's super geeked. It's not like super dork or super nerd. Like that's my tiering system. Like nerd is the high one, then dork's the middle, and geek is kind of the base level. I'm helping you with base level, guys. I'll help you with base level.
I'm probably sitting a bit dork. I know a bit more.
Yeah, I would say dork as well. For you as well. So it's like goes the chain of command. We've got the normies there. Then you've got me, the geek to bit, and then I go to you for the dork to be like, right, give me a bit more advice. And then we get special guests on to tell us for the nerd side. That's what works for us. Definitely, man. But yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed it, my friend. It's been great. Just enjoy a bit of company and just talk the super.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for anybody that has watched it, like, let us know what you think. If you like the series, this wee series, if you want to keep it continuing, I mean, we're probably just going to continue it whether you like it or not, but just let us know anyway.
Yep. There's plenty of content.
Oh yeah. Well, we are going to make sure there's loads of content coming. We've got to, especially the business is up and running. I got to create as much content as I can.
Yep.
So until next time, our Ginger League, Kev has been super.
And Andy's been Ginge.
And we got to go. Bye.
See ya.